Emery responds after Villa fans sarcastically applaud Morgan Rogers during their victory in the Europa League.
He has to get as well these experiences and grow up through it.
The first win then of the season for Aston Villa, but discontent still clear amongst the Villa fans. Our guest this morning, former Premier League striker Mr. Jay Bothroyd, is in the house. Jay, should Villa fans be jeering their own players?
It's harsh. And Emery there was harsh as well, to be honest. He should be protecting his players. Just kind of like hung him out and said, like, you need to deal with it.
We start though with, of course, Aston Villa. Their midfielder Morgan Rogers faced mocking cheers from the Villa supporters, some of the Villa supporters we should say, after his difficult start to the season continued, despite John McGinn's goal giving them a first win in any competition this season. The decisive moment came after just 13 minutes. Captain McGinn firing home from the edge of the area for Aston Villa's first home goal of the campaign. Then Ollie Watkins broke through on goal in the second half. He was brought down. No hesitation from the referee. Penalty awarded.
The big question is, was it offside?
And Watkins stepped up looking for his first goal of the season, but no, penalty saved. Bologna nearly punished Watkins for that miss. Santiago Castro heading against the crossbar. And the Villa Park crowd showed some frustration before the final whistle, jeering Morgan Rogers after he completed a pass. You can hear it for teammate Guesson. So Rogers, the focus of fans' frustration last night, and here is exactly why. He's completed 10 of his 24 attempted passes at Villa Park last night, lost possession 29 times and remains without a goal or an assist in 555 minutes of football this season.
He was not today being clinical offensively, but he needs to take experiences like today, not playing very well. The crowd as well, something not happy with him, and he has to get as well these experiences and grow up through it.
Jay Bothroyd, Morgan Rogers, Aston Villa fans, and look, we should say some Aston Villa fans, because there'll be many of them watching this morning said, well, look, that wasn't me, I don't agree with that whatsoever, but plenty of them could be heard jeering him and mocking him last night. What do you make of this situation?
I mean, initially I thought, sometimes as a player you're going to experience some kind of situations. That's just the part of the game. But obviously it's not nice. I think if every time you touch the ball there's going to be jeers. I mean, the fact that he lost the ball 29 times, obviously that is, that's really poor as well for a player of his stature. But I think this just kind of comes from the fact that he's had a great season last year. He's one of the best young players in the world.
Jay, there are plenty of players who've had a great season last season. Yeah. They don't get jeered by their own fans. Look, we know Aston Villa fans.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Gerrard used to say, they get on you quickly at that football club, right?
Yeah.
They don't give you much chance, right? But is this? I'm getting to the point. Let's get to it quickly. Is it because they are just resigned to losing this guy? There was a lot of talk in the transfer window that he was going to go to Chelsea, he was going to go to Liverpool, that he was going to go to Tottenham. They're not booing John McGinn.
Okay, here's one for you. When I was at Cardiff, there was a situation at Cardiff. When I played for England, I came back and I got injured. And then there was a situation where I didn't score for a few games. And fans started to say, "Oh, he's not interested in staying here," because I was.
Weren't you? Out the door.
Yeah, my contract was running down, and they was like, "Oh, we're resigned to losing him. He doesn't want to be here no more. He's not focused anymore." And it's not like that. You don't know what, as a player, your standards are not always going to be up here. You're going to go through tough times. I think that's what Morgan Rogers is going through now. And, them little 5 and 10 yard passes that were easy last year, when you're not having a good time, they're difficult. All of a sudden you're thinking about it. Of course, it's not good to hear that fans are booing you. That's not going to help him. If anything, if I was Rogers and I'm hearing that kind of thing, if that continues, I'd be thinking, well, yeah, I'm going to get my form back here, but then, yeah, I do want to go.
Exactly. But Jay, the point is, what's the end game from Villa fans? And if you were one of those those who were jeering Morgan Rogers, because it wasn't just a joke.
There's no end game here, because all that's going to happen is you're going to upset him even worse.
It's not even well, is it?
No, exactly. You're going to upset him even more. He's a human at the end of the day. And when you keep on, you get on someone's back and you're always on his back, you're booing every time he touches the ball, you're jeering. That's not good. It's just going to upset him. It's not going to help him play better. If anything, what would help him is players, the fans clapping him. Being there supportive for him, because like you said, he had a great year last year. Yeah. He's a great young player.
I'm going to let the viewers into a little secret, because when you came in this morning, Jay, you said no.
No, I did say that. I did say that.
I agree with the Villa fans.
I did say that. I agree. I said I agree that fans have the right to boo the team.
Yeah.
When it's individual, that's harsh. Yeah. But to boo the team, 100%.
And to be fair, Emery, after the game, right? Yeah. We heard of it.
I didn't like that, by the way.
What?
I didn't like what Emery said there.
Which bit?
Because I think Emery should be protecting Morgan Rogers. If that was someone like Wenger, Guardiola.
Managers don't do that anymore. Have you seen Slot recently with Ekitike?
But that was just silliness from Ekitike. That was just silly.
Yeah,
that's a stupid decision. But we're talking about a performance here. If that was someone like Guardiola, Arteta, Alex Ferguson, they would be putting their arm around Morgan Rogers and saying, "Listen, he's done this, he's done that. He's going through a tough time, but we completely believe in him." He just hung him out to. I don't want to say completely hung him out to dry, but he didn't. If I listened to them words, I wouldn't feel like my manager's supporting me.
He said he left him on the pitch, Jay, to see Morgan Rogers' reaction. That's what Emery said.
I mean, and yes, sometimes that goes well for you. You have a player that plays himself into having a good game. Plenty of times, I started off a game really bad, but then as the game goes on, you start getting your touches, you start getting your feeling, you end up scoring, you come off, and you can say, I've had a decent game now. That's probably what Emery's done, because he is a very talented player. But ultimately, if I was listening to what Emery said there, I wouldn't be happy with them comments. I'd want my manager to, put his arm around me, stick up for me, so to speak. But
if he did have any sort of incentive to leave, it's only going to push that down the line, isn't it?
And you know what, let's be honest, Aston Villa are a very good club. They're not playing very well at the moment. A lot of players are underperforming, especially Watkins. He hasn't scored this season. And if anything, he's the one person that needs to pick that team up and lead it. Morgan Rogers is still a young player. Ollie Watkins is an experienced player, very good forward, scores goals, gets assists. He needs to help move that team forward now. Yeah,
let's jeer all the Villa players and see how they get on this season. Gary, were you one of those jeering Morgan Rogers?
No, I wasn't. I can't get on board with that.
Gary, would you admit it if you was?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. I don't think it's just solely on that game last night. I think the problem is he's had 6 appearances so far this season, and he's been awful in all of them. And so it's a kind of combination of everything.
Just him, Gary? Just him?
No, not just him, but him and Watkins mainly. And you talk about the transfer speculation, and it feels like the pair of them are ready to down tools, like they're looking elsewhere. And you look at Rogers' performance, and when things don't go right for you in football, you guys know this. You can control the basics, right? You can control your energy levels. You can control kind of your effort and kind of trying to make things happen. And yesterday, for me, watching it there live at the game, Rogers just didn't do that off the ball, and he was, when he did try something, it all came off, and then eventually he just came to that cheer.
But Gary, I understand what you're saying, and I understand from the frustration from some of the fans. But ultimately, when you're going through a tough time, everything seems a lot harder. Making that final pass, having a shot that you would, 8 times out of 10 hit the target. It all seems much more difficult. And we've seen it over the last, few years, players having a great season and then starting the season off poorly. Foden had a terrible season last year.
City fans didn't jeer him every pass,
exactly, and I think that's the point. Jeering players does not help. But I do agree with fans as a whole during the team. I think in that part, you guys pay your hard-earned money to go and watch Aston Villa play, and when you look at that squad and you see the way Aston Villa are underperforming as a whole, it's not good enough.
He's got credit in the bank, Gary, from what he's done for that football club. He's been there 2 years in February. He's 23. He's broken into the England squad. He's been absolutely fantastic. He's had 2 minutes where he's had, not the Morgan Rogers of last season. I mean, look, is this a case, Gary, of you guys, you're a sensitive bunch, some of you Villa fans. Are you just a little bit worried, Gary, that he's leaving in January or the summer and he thought, I'll be done with him. Go on, jeer him now. He's off to Liverpool. He's off to Chelsea.
Well, I don't agree with the jeering, but I do think he's had his head turned. I think something's happened in the summer, because if we look at when he went away for England against Serbia, he was outstanding, man of the match performance. He showed what he's capable of doing. So how does your form dip from club level to international level so quickly? And unless you are looking elsewhere and you're motivated to kind of, you're around the England lads and there's probably people in his ear saying things like,
Hold on, Gary. Wasn't Aston Villa motivated? They was trying to sell players. You sold Jacob Ramsey.
But we had no choice.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not just the player that's had his head turned. Maybe so. But the club would have spoke to the agent and said, this is the fee. If you want Morgan Rogers to leave, it's going to be 80 million. So the fact that the club would have said something along those lines, because Aston Villa's financial position is poor, right? That's why they have to sell the players. So someone like Jacob Ramsey that has gone, Morgan Rogers, that is probably the most. You're going to get the most money by selling him.
Hold on, what I don't understand here, boys, is
Aston Villa might have pushed him that way.
JJ, if he has had his head turned, right, and I understand how that can happen at clubs, and especially if there's big football clubs like Liverpool and Chelsea sniffing around you. How does he think he's going to get a move by, deliberately losing possession and not playing well?
It's not deliberately losing possession. It's just difficult to keep it when you're going for a bad time.
Gary's saying he's had his head turned. So, but does he think he's going to resolve this by not playing to his full potential?
Well, no. And in an ideal world, right, we want players that are, as a Villa fan, if players are going to go on and be successful and go and play for Champions League clubs and things like that, I haven't got any problem with that. We get behind him, we back him, and he's been brilliant for us. He was our best player last year by a country mile, and I think he's got the potential to be one of the world's best. But he's got, when your head's turned, sometimes your confidence is low and you just want to push that move. We all know that in an ideal world, yes, your move would be based on performances, but it doesn't always happen that way.
But Gary, that's your perception. That's your perception as a person and as fans. You don't know what's happened. You don't know what's going on in his life. You don't know these things. You just see at the moment that he's a great player. He's had a great season last year and that he's having a poor season. And you know what? It's not even a season. It's 5 or 6 games? It's nothing.
I would give anything to be a fly on the wall, to have a little bit more information. Obviously, we can only base on it what we look at on the TV and what we watch in real life and at the games. And for me, from a player who has just won PFA Young Player of the Year and been an ever-prevalent influence in that side, to go from that to these first 6 performances, not just judging it on last night, if you go back through the first 6 games, his stats are awful.
So why not get behind the guy and sing his name?
Yeah, no, mate, I was there. My voice is practically gone. I'll cheer, and if you see players giving 110%, the Villa fans will back them.
So you think you're saying that he's not working hard, even he's not running?
Last night there was 4 occasions where I watched him trot towards pressing the ball when he could have got there, and it's those little things that you see and you go, why is he not doing that? He did that last year, and he was big and he was strong and he was holding players off. There were 2 incidents yesterday where he was put through one-on-one and he just got muscled off the ball in the first one, and then his decision making in the second was just, he could have shot on goal, but he decided to play a pass out wide to Cassandre, and it was a terrible easy pass. Now I know that's a confidence thing, but for me, there's something not right.
But one thing I would say, and I know this, most players are not going to go through the motions to get a move. To get a move to somewhere like Liverpool, top clubs, Chelsea, anywhere where it's
got to do an ESAC, haven't you?
You've got to carry on playing well and performing to show that you're worth the 80 million it's going to take for you to leave the club. It's not to play badly. If his stock goes down, someone like Liverpool, Arsenal, whoever it may be, I'm not going to want to sign him.
Surely Jay, it's not what you know, it's who you know in this situation. And if someone's got their eye on him, and you look at the performances from last season, they're going to want him anyway because they know what he can do.
So you look at, just for example, you look at someone like Rafael Leao at AC Milan, right? You say to yourself, what an unbelievable player. But then AC Milan want 80 million for him. It's like, hold on a second. As much as he's got unbelievable talent, we haven't seen the consistency. We're not willing to pay for him.
It's also not even the 1st of October, guys. He's not going anywhere anytime soon, is he?
Exactly.
So that's the other thing, right? Whatever happens, we've got at least 3 months of him till January. If anything's going to happen.
So shouldn't you get behind him then?
Yeah, mate, I'm 100% behind him. Like, if he's putting in the effort, I'll be.
Gary, it sounds like you're one of the ones that were jeering him, I think.
You think Gary's a jeerer? Gary's a jeerer, is he?
Honestly, I wasn't. I don't.
Honestly.
I love this club with my whole heart, mate. I'm never, ever going to be doing that. I don't agree with that.
No,
we need to get beyond